Now it's time to add some more variation into the game and allow the player to select between different cars, and also that the AI shouldn't use the same car all the time. So I've already prepared a few models here that I've chopped up in the same way as the car hatchback so they can explode. And that was covered in episode 6. And now we can simply take our car base here, the prefab, and start to work from that. So we want to take this car hatchback, and let's get rid of that. And let's take the police and start with the police car. So now we have our police car here, and if we look at our different scripts here, they now have missing objects, right? So we have a car mesh that is missing here, so let's just drag that in. And the same in the original object, that's also our car mesh, right? And a mesh collider, which is on the should be on the car police here, but it's not, because I probably forgot to add it. Anyway, so let's look at that. And our car police here doesn't have any collider, so let's add a mesh collider, right? Mesh collider, and it needs to be convex. And then let's set up all the other things as well. So our wheels here, they need to have, they should have rigid body, right? So they can explode, but they should start in kinematic, because we don't want them to explode right away. And then we should have mesh colliders, and they need to be convex, and we can disable them. And the other parts of our car here, let's have a look at them. And we have car police, no siren as well. That's not something we want to use. And these objects needs to have rigid bodies on them, and they need to have mesh colliders as well, and they all need to be convex. Okay, so now we have our different scripts. We can actually get rid of that one, or our different objects set up, and these should not be visible right now. So let's hide them. So now again, back to our little here mesh collider missing. So let's add our mesh collider from our car. So those are the missing parts. So now we want to take our prefab here and create a variant of it. So if we look in our prefabs, we have cars. So let's actually make a folder here, call them player cars, and then let's separate the AI cars. And let's quickly bring that in, and this is a player car. And now we have our player car prefab here. Let's drag and drop it and select prefab variant. So and let's just rename it police. So it's important that we do a variant of our original base here, because that way, if we make any changes to our car base, it will change in our variant as well. So it's easier to maintain your different car objects that way. And when I think about it, I forgot to change the layers. So let's just take our car here, change our layers to car, just change children and save. So then it should be correct setup. So let's take it for a spin, and our virtual camera should be following this object instead. So we have our car base here, but it should be following this one instead. Okay, so let's hit play and see how it runs. Alright, so I can accelerate, and let's just hit something, boom, and it explodes. Perfect. So now we know that our game is still working. So I'm going to take all the other cars, and I'm going to do the same process and create a bunch of prefabs here, and then we'll cover how to take care of the AI. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've added 4 different cars, and I did detect one thing that I forgot to mention. If we open our car police here, we can see that, okay, our model here is using its sort of internal material, which is attached to this car, and we want to use as few materials as possible. So let's select all of our game objects here, and then let's go into materials and drag and drop car into our material slot here. So now every model is using this car, so it will be much more efficient for the game engine to draw, and yeah, the game will run faster. So let's save that. And now we need to make our AI cars. And the AI cars, they are very similar to a player car. They don't have the tag player. So we can easily duplicate this one, add AI in front of it, car AI police, change it to AI car, and do the same thing for the others as well. So duplicate. And the final one. And then let's move all of them into our AI car folder, so it's neatly organized. Now the AI script we created before is already prepared to handle multiple cars. So we have our car AI prefabs here. So let's just increase it to 4. And then take our police car and our sedan and our taxi. So now if we take a first spin, we should be able to see the different AI cars. Okay, so let's see if we can find some cars. Alright, so here's the red car and the police car, awesome, blue car and taxi. But there is one little strange thing. See, when I brake, the whole police car flashes, it becomes bright. So why is that? Well, it is because I was a little bit lazy when I did my materials. So if we have a look at our materials, we have our city bit texture here, which is the emissive texture that I created, which has yellow here, red there, and white there. And the white part, of course, the police car is using this color, so that becomes emissive as well. So I'm just gonna be lazy and remove this. You should probably move all the UVs and remap the lights, etc. But now I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna remove this white part and leave the red and yellow. So let me do that. Okay, boom, the white is gone, so now it will no longer be emissive, the police car. So now the next step is that, okay, we don't want our car here, right? We want to be able to spawn a dynamic car, so you can have a menu system where you select different cars. So let's get rid of our car here, and we need to create a new script. So we have already our AI car spawner here, but we're gonna create a similar one for the player. So let's create mono behavior script, call it player car spawner, and open that in your code editor. So this script is going to be similar to our AI car spawner, but not exactly the same. So the first thing that we need to add is the prefabs that we're going to spawn. So let's add a serialized field and game objects as an array, and then take in car prefabs. So this is where we have the different cars that the player can select between. And then we want to be able to track, okay, which was the instantiated car. And I will make this into a variable so we can change it later, because we're going to reuse this script for the menu system as well. So instantiated car and the game object instantiated player car, and it's going to be null as a start. All right. So in our start method here, we are going to instantiate our car, and it will be, just to make it easy, we're going to start with the first object that we can find in our array here. So let's instantiated player car is equal to, and then we'll do instantiate car prefab with the position 0 in the array. So now we will have our car instantiated, and it will run, but we do have a camera in our scene, right? So our camera will not be able to track our car because it doesn't know that it exists, so we need to tell it. So let's using unity.cinemachine, and our cinemachine object, we are going to use the same script in the menu. so we need to check that it actually exists before we can use it. So let's see. If CineMachine camera is not equal to null, in that case we are going to tell it CineMachine camera.follow is equal to, and then our instantiated player car transform. So now we just need to figure out, okay, why did it show like this? Because I forgot to add the serialized field. So let's add our serialized field. Serialized field, and then CineMachine camera, and call it CineMachine camera. So now already we can see that, okay, our our code is going to be a little bit ugly in a way, because we're going to have a lot of serialized fields without remembering maybe what they are. So let's add a header here. So header camera. Oops, my formatting got a bit wrong. So it will say camera in our inspector, so we know that everything behind here or after this is the camera. So that's a neat way of tracking your code. So now we can save this and take first spin and see how it works. So let's take our main camera here, and let's drag and drop our player spawner right in there. And we already have our array here with the AI cars, right? So let's chunk in the other cars. So, So let's make it size 4 already, and then just drag in them. And I'm not going to start with a regular car. I'll take the police car again, so we can check that our fix worked. Okay, so now it should spawn the police car. So, and I need to add a camera, right? So CineMachine is null. So let's drag in our virtual camera there. Okay, let's just save and then press play. Okay, so now we have a bunch of weird stuff going on, right? And we have some errors here. And why is this? Well, it is because now that we're spawning the car, it's not there from the start. So if it's not there from the start, it means that some scripts cannot access it. So how can we solve this problem? Well, one thing is that we can move things around in which order they are executed. So let's go into our project settings, and we have script execution order. So one thing is that we can add our car, where is it? Player car spawner, and put it on -1. So at -1, it means that it's going to run before anything else. So this is a bit iffy, so let's make sure that it updated, so it didn't. -1. And then apply. Okay, so now we have it there, and now it's just going to reload, and yes, perfect. So now we have so that the car spawner is going to run ahead of anything else, and it should minimize our risk of having this type of problem. But something is going on still. So let's have a look at our UI handler here. So now UI handler is a little bit special because it's trying to access some things in the awake function. So it's trying to find the player in the awake, but this won't work because when it's calling the awake, it doesn't exist. But if we move it to start, which is called before the first update, but it's called after awake. So in fact, we can get rid of it. So if we save this UI handler and go back into Unity, and let's try it again. So now the execution order should be correct, and this script should no longer access things in awake. So fingers crossed. Yes, and 0 errors, and we have our police car, and we can brake without it lighting up. So it's good. But we want to be able to select which car to use, right? We don't want the police car all the time. Then it was sort of pointless that we did all of this. So next thing is that we are going to create a new menu screen. And I'm going to change this to in-game canvas. So we know that it's that, in-game canvas. In fact, let's reuse this whole scene. So we're going to save the whole thing, save as. And then in scenes, we'll call it main menu. Okay, so in that case, let's rename this one in-game canvas, main menu canvas. Let's go into 2D mode. So we are going to reuse some of these parts. Let's get rid of our virtual camera and then our main camera. Let's strip it so it doesn't have the Cinemachine brain, no AI car spawner. It can use our player car spawner, no endless level. And our distance, let's get rid of that in our canvas, and this game over, we can reuse this one. So we want to create some type of menu screen, so main menu canvas, and I don't know, play game canvas or play canvas. You can come up with some better name. This is going to be our menu here. So our header, we don't need that one, and our button, we're going to reuse this one, and no distance. So instead we are going to have a list of buttons. So the first button is going to be play game. So let's add a play game. And we're going to use a vertical layout list or vertical list here, so it becomes easier to manage this. So let's add an empty child and force everything to expand in all directions, so it covers the whole panel here. And then we need our vertical layout group, and let's rename that to vertical layout group. So we know that that's the one, and we can call it buttons instead. It's easier to remember what it is. Buttons. There we go. And then we're gonna have a bunch of buttons here. So we don't want the vertical layout group to change our width or height of our children. So let's remove that, and as you see, that grouped them together. And then we're going to center alignment, upper center, so that's the upper part, and spacing is maybe, oh, that was a little bit too low, 30, 40, 40. And then we need it to be a little bit further down, so 40. Something like that, I think, will be okay. And our canvas here, let's reduce the size of it, right? So it's something like this, and then make it smaller. Like that. And let's drag it to the side of the screen and anchor it to left. So if we have a look at our game, we can see, okay, we have play game, and then nothing here. So let's go from this. Play game, and the next is going to be next car and previous car. And let's rename the buttons here. Start button, and button is going to be next car, and then previous car. Alright, awesome. So the car is going to spawn in the scene, right? So if we go up from 2D mode somewhere here, hopefully, and we can move our main camera later, so it looks good. Now our camera here is using our UI handler, which our canvas is used in that, and we should get a new one for just this menu. And we did have our main camera here, which is spawning our different cars, so that should work, right? So and we don't have a Cinemachine, so we can just hit play and see, well, that something is spawned, and that I haven't forgotten any sort of important scripts. Okay, perfect. But now we can hear that the game is running, right? So we are getting some noise from the car, and well, maybe we can even drive off. Yes, we can. So that's obviously not something we want to happen in our game. But first of all, let's just take our this part of the UI. Let's dock this to the side so I can see what I'm doing. And our main camera, we want our car to be a little bit better centered, right? So let's just bring it back to where it started. Here it was, and the camera, let's, oops, that was too much. Let's focus on it so it doesn't go too far. Where are you? There. So, something like that, I think, will work. We have our car to the side. Oops. And our menu to the left. So, I think this can be a working solution. So, we don't want the car to drive off, and we want to be able to get these buttons to work. So we need to create another script again. So let's go in scripts, UI, create a new mono behavior, call it main menu, UI handler, and open it in your editor. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add using Unity Engine Scene Management so that we can have a button which loads the stage. So let's have a public void on start game clicked, and then make a function scene manager load scene and stage and end bracket. And the update, we are not going to use it. So normally you would add your buttons in here like on next car, etc. But we're gonna sort of hack the code a bit, and we are going to use our player car spawner for this. So the player car spawner, we can expand it so it resolves the problems that we had with like the car driving away and some other issues. So right now we need to figure out, okay, which of these cars are we looking at? So if we're gonna have our UI handler be able to cycle with the buttons, we need to keep track of that. So let's add a variable which car is selected, and it's going to be an integer car index, and it starts at 0. Okay, so now that we have that, we want to be able to go to the next car, right? We want to be able to cycle these cars. So let's add a function for that. Public void on next car. So that's going to be when you click, and we are going to increase our car index by 1, and if the car index is above car prefab's length -1, so we don't go outside the array, we're going to say car index is 0. Okay, so and we can change on next car clicked here, so it becomes obvious that it's clicked. So then we can handle our index here. And let's do the same thing for on previous. And our index is going to be -, so we're going to go backwards. And if the car index is less than 0, then we are going to set it to our prefab length -1. So we don't go outside of our array here. So how are we going to handle this change car, right? Well, we need a function that we can call to change the car. So let's add our function for it, void change car. And then the first thing that we need to do when we're changing car is get rid of our instantiated player car here. So let's destroy instantiated player car. And after that, we want to instantiate a new car, right? The problem that we had before was that the car was running away, right? Because it's instantiating a full car which has the possibility to drive, etc. So we want only the sort of the model to spawn and not the actual complete object. So how can we do that? Well, if we have a look at our car handler here, so our car handler already knows that, okay, our mesh renderer has our car has a mesh, right? The mesh is the model itself. So if we can find a way to use that, we can actually just spawn the mesh or the model instead. So we're going to make a property out of this so that our player car spawner can access this variable. So public and then mesh renderer, and then with a capital letter for car mesh renderer is equal to, and with a large than sign, car mesh renderer. So this is called a prototype or a property, and it gives the ability to access this car mesh renderer with a capital C outside of this script, but you can't modify it. So that's a good handy way of doing it. So now our car mesh handler can access this this part. So we need to figure out, okay, when we are changing car, it can only happen in the menu, right? So we don't really care about what happens in game, because this is never gonna get called in game. So let's instantiate play car. So that's our result is equal to, and then instantiate car prefab car index get component car handler, and then use our car mesh renderer dot game object. So that's just going to create a nice rendered version of or a nice mesh, right? So that's all good. So now we have that as a game object, and we are instantiating it. And we then want to have the ability to make sure that the same car is then spawned when we're in game. So normally maybe you would use something like game manager for this or something to keep track of it, but we're gonna be a bit lazy again. So we're just gonna hack it together. So we're gonna have a selected car here from menu, and it's gonna be a static variable. And a static variable means that it's when we're running this or adding it to the scene, it's sort of an instantiated version of this code that is running. But we can have a static variable which is the same for all of the player car handler spawner scripts. So it will be the same, it won't be different. So with a static, we can say that, okay, we're going to have a game object, and it's going to be called selected car prefab, and it's going to equal to null. So when we are updating our car here, or changing the car rather, then we are going to store it as well. So selected car prefab is going to be equal to car prefab in the index. So then we know that, okay, the player has selected this car, and we need to figure out, okay, in our start loop here, are we in the menu or not? Because we're going to do it differently in the menu compared to if we're not in the menu, right? So let's add that after our camera here. So let's call it header menu, so we know what we're doing, and then serialized field, and we're going to add a is main menu equal to false. So this becomes an inspector object that we can change and set yes for that object that is in the main menu. So now we are aware of what is our main menu and what is our game. So if we are the main menu, what are we going to do? Well, we are going to do in the start menu, we're going to check, okay, if we are the main menu, then we are going to take our instantiated play car here, or rather instantiate it with the car prefab index, and then get our mesh render like we did before. And we are going to assign our selected car prefab here. So just like we did before. And then store that. But if we're not the menu, in that case, we need to do something different. So we need to check, first of all, if this part is null. So how can it be null? Well, if we're like testing the game, then the player is not going to go through the menu. We are skipping the menu, and in that case we want to be able to test our game, right? So if the selected is not null, then we are going to instantiate an object or a prefab. Instantiated player car is going to be equal to, and then our selected car prefab, because then we have that, and we get that from here, right? And if we don't have that, then it means that we're testing our own game. So in that case, we are going to make an else statement and say instantiated player car is equal to, and then we are going to instantiate the first car we find in our list here. Okay, so now our code would work, and well, it would work, but we want to make it a little bit more flashy, right? So if we're in the menu, so if is main menu, then we want to rotate the car a little bit. So we'll take our instantiated player car, transform, and rotate it with a new vector 3, 0, 0, and then Z, because the blender objects have a different orientation. So otherwise you would put it on 20 in the Y direction, but now we're going to rotate it in Z, and then time dot delta time. And that will rotate our object. Okay, so the only thing is that when we are changing the object, it's going to reset, right? So it's going to start from when it's facing upwards, and we want it to sort of keep on spinning. So let's store our rotation here. So let's make a variable, quaternion, car rotation is equal to, and then identity. And when we are rotating, we are going to store that rotation. So in our update here, let's take our car rotation equal to, and then instantiated player car, the transform, and the rotation. So what do we have left? We need to call this change car, right? So after we have updated our index, we need to change the car. And the same thing here. And the formatting is a bit weird. All right, so oh, and I did forget to remove this part, because now we are instantiating our cars differently, so that should not happen all the time. So that's good. And then we have our rotation. So we're storing the rotation, but we're not using a rotation, right? So we need to use that. So instantiated player car transform dot rotation is equal to, and then store our car rotation, so it remembers the rotation it had. Okay, so now we can save this and try it in Unity. Okay, so let's find our main camera and tick the box is main menu for the main menu, so that's true. And then we need to hook up our buttons here. So next car button should call not the main menu canvas, but this one. And on next car clicked, and the same thing for this one. So main camera there, player on previous car, and then our start button is going to call our main menu canvas here with our I forgot to add that. So main menu handler, there it is. And let's try that again. Start game clicked. Let's open build profiles, and here we have our scene list. So let's go to scenes, drag in our main, open scene list, drag in our main menu here, and then our stage. Okay, now we're all set. So let's just save, hit play. Oh, I forgot to change the camera rotation. Well, or the camera position. So next car, yay, it changes car. And yeah, cool. And if we play game, it starts a game with that specific car. So, awesome. Works. But what was up with our camera, right? We forgot to move it. Alright, so let's bring the game here. So I wanted the camera to be a little bit to the side. So I think this is cool. So bring back. Or maybe it was a bit too much. Fiddling. Alright. That's game development. There we go. That's better. So now I'm happy with that, and let's just exit play mode and copy back the value and paste. So now the only thing that we need to do more is polish this screen so it looks better. Alright, there we go. A little bit better at least. I'd like to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. It helps us with every single contribution that we can get. So please consider supporting us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.